The US economy is in a terrible place right now, or at least that's how most people feel. But is the US economy going down the drain? Are things going in an upward fashion? Where are we really? Let's go ahead and break it down. I've got 5 facts that might change your mind about how you feel about the US economy. Let's go ahead and start. First, let's talk about inflation. We actually have the lowest inflation rate out of all G7 countries. Now, what is the G7? The G7 is the largest 7 economies in the world. Okay, so I want to make sure I get this whole list right. That is Canada, France, the US, the UK, Japan, Germany, Italy, and the EU. EU stands for European Union. That's a collection of countries, but technically counted as one. Don't ask me why. But the stats are the stats. We have the lowest inflation rate out of all of them. And these are the most comparable countries that we can have out there. And yes, you don't like inflation, I don't like inflation, but we can all admit that inflation has slowed down. And when we look at our other peers, we are doing much better than they are, because context is still key here. I talk about context when you're looking at the stock market. You want to look at context when you're looking at the entire economy as well. When our unemployment rate was high during COVID, when our inflation was extremely high during that period as well, it wasn't just us, right? It wasn't just a US-centric thing and everybody else was doing fine. We're actually doing a bit better than our peers, and we are still on that track right now. And again, we all know inflation has started to fall and has done so significantly. So that's one check in the right direction. But what else? Unemployment. Our unemployment rate is lower than most in the G7, not all, and we're still below 4%. Now, we did do a video last week about how the unemployment rate went up just a bit, and I explained exactly why and how that might not be bad news at all. And that is because the way we calculate unemployment rate is very weird. Basically, if you stop looking for a job, they don't count you. They don't count you at all in the unemployment rate, which I think is weird. But when you start to look for a job, or you are optimistic and say, look, let me go out here and try and see what I can find, and you're unemployed, you now start to count just because you started looking. We have more people looking for jobs during this period, which happens every year. That is one of the reasons why the unemployment rate was up. That's fine. Okay, but we're still in a very good place relative to our peers. But it doesn't stop there. The good news does not stop there. Our economy grew. When we talk about the economy, we're talking about gross domestic product. It's the value of all the stuff that we produce as a country. One way to look at it is, I produce a book, that book is $5. They take that $5 and add it up into the GDP. And they count all the goods and services that we all create and make and calculate that and say, hey, it increased or decreased. And right now, it increased by 2.4%. That is better than what economists expected at the 2% number. So we are still growing there. When you have 2 quarters of negative GDP, that is called a recession. At least last time I checked my economic textbook. Okay, now the last time that happened, this was about 1.5 years ago. They didn't call it a recession, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Did a whole video about that. I don't want to rant about it, but y'all get the point. Right now, we're not in one, and we haven't been in one according to the GDP number in several quarters. We have been a very, very good spot with strong economic growth. But that's still not it. That is still not it for the good news train here. And here's the one that I kind of get excited about. I just do, because I'm happy. I'm happy for us. I'm happy for you for this one. That is wages. That's our paychecks. The money that we get has outpaced inflation. Wages have gone up by 4%, inflation has gone up by just 3%. That means now it starts to feel like you are getting paid a lot more. Wages have increased significantly from 2020 to now. But what good is that if you get a 5% raise, but inflation is 9%? You actually move backwards, right? What prices are going up by this much, you only getting this much extra. That doesn't feel great. And I think that has been one of the reasons why people haven't felt like they've gotten a raise or felt like they're more prosperous than where they were 4, 5, or 6 years ago. That is starting to change, and hopefully wages continue to go up. I think that's what we all want. But as we do know, and we have seen, inflation is just going down. So if we continue to get paid a 4% raise every year or so, and inflation goes down to 2%, we're winning. That's what we want, right? That's what we want. We have twice the increase than what we have in inflation, which is amazing. And that has not happened very recently because inflation has been at historic highs. And here is the one I think we're all interested in. This is probably a number you might know. And if you don't know, you about to know now. And that is the S&P 500 has increased by 18% to this point in 2023. The S&P 500 is the 500 largest companies in the US. Basically, another way to say that, the stock market is up 18%. Now, yes, the stock market and the economy are two separate things. But here is the thing that you need to know. And I think you already know this. Why do you invest in the stock market? Why do you do the research, sit down and invest in Apple or Nvidia or United Healthcare or Walmart or whatever? The reason you do is because you expect that company to do well in the what? Future. You expect those companies to do well in the future, and if the stock market is up, that is saying that we as a collective, right? Us as investors across the board, we expect the stock market to continue to grow. We think these companies are going to continue to grow, which gives us a little bit of a roadmap of our expectations. People are expecting, investors are expecting the market to continue to grow in the near future. We might be okay, y'all. We might be okay. But outside of all the stuff I've said, there's one word that I have not mentioned. Okay, and that is perfect. I didn't say we were perfect. I didn't say there was nothing wrong with the economy. And there is another side of this coin. Okay, and if you want the full story, you want the other half of the coin, just so you can be informed, you can choose how you actually feel about the economy, you want to check out this video right here.